Violence comes from people who make mistakes. When that violence hits you, the first thing that arises is pain. Then comes the urge to hit back, to curse, to bang your fist on the table, or maybe even change the marriage certificate in the registry office, and so on. This is a natural reaction. When pain arises, especially intense pain, this is what naturally happens. Some respond with anger, some with hurt, some with shock, different reactions to the same event. But understand, this reaction isn't the foundation for your life or your behavior. What comes next? No matter how much pain or resentment you feel inside toward that person or how much you want to confront them, before you do anything serious, you should sit before an altar, play the voice of a holy person, tune yourself to that voice, and repeat the prayer in the same mood, in the same spirit. Gradually, the repetition and the sound reach your heart and merge with your own voice. You pray along with it, in sync, together. When you start praying together like this, you begin to feel power in your prayer. You bow, and at first the holiness is tuned to the sound. Then, when the power flows, you need to give this power away to the image. It can be a holy place. For example, in the Jewish tradition, you can't bow to the image of a holy person, but you can focus on the sound. So you can bow to the image of a sacred scripture or to the image of a holy place. Muslims bow to the written name of God, and so on. There are different ways. You must turn your service into inspiration that comes from the sound. Then you begin serving the object of holiness. At that moment, you calm down. But the moment you calm down, right then that jerk who left you suddenly pops into your mind. That means the work ahead is surfacing. The first thing that happens is a blow to the heart. I'll never forgive them. It hurts so much. At this moment, you need to focus on the voice of the holy person, pause in reverence, and think only about that. I want to live only for you. I'm tired of thinking about my problems and what has happened to me. I want to live differently. I want to live for you. Keep your focus on the holy person. When the pain from how you were treated rises up, it will become bearable. You will be able to endure it. Keep praying, bowing, remembering the person who is in the war zone. Is the pain unbearable because he is there? Keep bowing. Gradually, you will feel that you can help him. It's a hard test, but it can be endured. Keep praying. Think about the voice of the holy person. Slowly, the knowledge of what exactly that person needs to do to avoid suffering will come. You pass this on to him. This is called a blessing. If you continue praying, you will be able to make sure the danger passes and his life is saved. This may take weeks or even months, but victory is inevitable. It's never the case that a person cannot overcome their circumstances. It's just the amount of work that needs to be done. We are not born to suffer, but to learn to live correctly. First, this pain must be defeated in prayer. Then comes what was spoken about in the lecture, the need to accept everything and say, Lord, thank you. That feeling of Lord, thank you arises at the stage of prayer when a person becomes stronger than their pain. While the pain is stronger, acceptance of fate is impossible. The person is in pain, they can't accept it. But when they overcome their painful circumstances through prayer, suffering becomes much weaker. At this moment, bad fate begins to retreat. On one hand, it's simply impossible for us to treat events and people with kindness, especially when it comes to overwhelming pain. Someone killed my son there. How can I possibly feel kindness towards such people? It's just impossible. The situation is a bit different now, but when I first arrived in Ukraine, the look in the eyes of the woman at the checkpoint, stamping my passport, was like an accusation, as if blaming me for all the Russians who started this war, and I accepted that pain from her. She said, "First go to the interview." Then when I fully agreed, she looked at me, not with happiness but just calm, and said, "Well, just go ahead." Her pain was tied to everything that was happening, and I kind of accepted that pain. I took it upon myself because there was no point in denying anything. If something is happening, then something needs to be done about it. I can't say, "Sorry, I'm not responsible, I'm not involved." I simply looked at her with kindness and began to pray in my heart for the responsibilities I bear, to fulfill the duty God has given me. This is how one must act in such situations. First comes the pain and violence, then gradually the person forgives. Imagine you can forgive even a murderer. But that doesn't mean they're allowed to keep killing. Forgiveness is a blessing and understanding that people do all these things in a state of stupefaction and without awareness. Time works in such a way that they're not thinking clearly. They believe they have the right to do whatever they want. They think their interests are the most important, not caring about who suffers. That's the problem. Time creates such duality and cruelty between people that they don't understand anything. They can't distinguish truth from lies. Everyone forms their own truth, and this is because of how the energy of time works. That's how fate works. So the one who lives in prayer becomes a sage. There's no duality for them. They seek only peace. They don't see us or them. They only see deceived people caught up in suffering. Everyone's simmering in this boiling pot. Does all this mean we shouldn't defend our homeland? Of course not. Every person must defend their homeland. But there's a difference between actions and the heart. We need to understand what to do with our hearts. When a person hates their enemy, they become a beast who kills indiscriminately. Guilty or innocent, wounded or captured, no matter who. When the heart is wrongly tuned, the person becomes demonically inclined, copying what should not be copied. They become the same. When two dogs bark, it's hard to tell which one started it first. One of them should be smarter. I once saw this. One dog barks, the other just watches. And the other one calms down. I had a friend with a huge, massive dog. When someone comes over, it's the dog's job to bark. That's its duty to its owners. It puts on a fierce face and serves its role. I went to my friends to give a lecture. Their dog was huge. I remembered it as a puppy, but it had grown up, forgotten me, and now was growling. I looked it in the eyes and started a prayer. That voice triggered all those stages: panic, fear, confusion. Then came the thought, should I attack you or run away? I overcame it all inside myself. The hosts who invited me were busy with their own things and didn't pay attention to me, but I focused on the dog. I wanted to understand how this works with animals, whether this system really works or not. After all, they have a heart, a soul, everything. So I began praying and looked into the dog's eyes, bowing. Her name was Karma, the dog. Karma, my dear, I haven't seen you in so long. I bowed to her, prayed, and thought of God and the holy person. And then some interesting things started happening. The dog wanted to bark but couldn't. She lost the inspiration, and at the same time her microchip started overheating because she didn't know what to do. I was a stranger, so she should have attacked me, but she couldn't. So she hid behind her doghouse and barked from there so she wouldn't have to see me. I walked around the doghouse and she moved away from me. When the owners saw this, they laughed. They caught us in this strange interaction. I prayed while following her, and she kept running around the doghouse and around me. Defeat those who bark with prayer. Let them run circles around the doghouse. Next topic, how to learn to forgive. A person can't forgive on their own. Forgiveness means freeing yourself from pain. As long as there's pain in your heart, forgiveness hasn't happened. Forgiveness means you've processed the event and time has stepped back, it's receding. Let's say your husband leaves. You had a husband, your child had a father, and he left you. It's a terrible thing, that's violence. The woman is hysterical, doesn't know what to do, and goes to therapists. Don't waste your time, you're wasting it for nothing. Time is working against you. Who knows how serious this event really is? Maybe he'll come to his senses, maybe not. Start praying right now, because not only does the fate of that fool destroying his own life depend on you, but also your life and the life of your child. The child gets traumatized by all this, and problems start for them too. Because when mental health suffers, physical and intellectual health suffer, especially in children. Anything and everything. Don't waste a single second. Start focusing on the voice of the holy person. Begin this practice. You won't overcome this situation in 1 second or even in 1 day. If your husband leaves you, it means the situation is quite serious. People usually get discouraged. They try once, nothing happens, and they rush off to try something else. Please don't give up. There was a woman who stood up and asked me, am I on the right path? I asked her, are you on the right path? She said, yes, I am. Because the moment you start this practice, your heart tells you nothing has changed yet, your husband is still tormenting you. The pain in your heart is the same. But inside there's this feeling, keep going, this will help you. The very first time she bowed with the sound of the holy person, the very first time she did it, she felt, keep going, this will help. And then you just keep going. I advise in situations like this to forget everything else, take time off work, take sick leave, whatever you can, and spend 8 hours a day on this. That's what I did in situations like this. 8 hours a day, keep going, keep going, keep going, and within a day, the situation starts to improve. The next day, the challenge comes again. This might go on for 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 days. Then suddenly the pain lessens. When it's really better inside, if the person who left doesn't have freedom of choice and still loves you but has lost his mind for a moment, he'll come back immediately. But if you really hurt him deeply, if he has valid reasons to act that way, then his pain may ease and he might calm down toward you. But he might be afraid to come back, so he has to make a choice. Either leave and face the consequences, and then God will bring someone else to you, or return to you no matter what. Both outcomes are possible. If someone leaves, then there's nothing you can do, but you will feel that you did everything you could. First, you won't suffer over it. Second, you'll feel that everything in your life will be okay. Third, your children won't suffer from trauma or psychosis, and so on. Imagine how much you can help yourself in such a situation when life falls apart like this. The same applies if you find yourself in a war zone or near a terrible event. The first thing is to pray immediately. If something life-threatening happens right before your eyes, you must focus on God loudly and clearly, repeating your prayers without fear at all. I had such a situation in India. My wife and I were living in a holy place. There was an accident with a little child. He was only 4 years old. That child was playing right between me and my wife when a monkey jumped on him. A monkey can claw a person in an instant. It's lightning fast. This big male monkey jumped right on the child's chest. At that moment, my wife screamed a prayer loud and clear, and the monkey immediately ran away. It all happened in a second. Prayer can instantly stop a dangerous event. Just like that, boom, it's gone. Women know how to shout, but you must shout the name of God. You must address God. It's not just yelling, but sincerely calling on God, and then the bad fate retreats immediately. You can't really learn forgiveness. Forgiveness comes as a result of victory. When a person overcomes their fate, forgiveness arrives naturally. So when someone leaves you or something happens, what remains is a bright memory of them. If the good memories remain, all the positive moments you shared, that stays with you. Anything bad? Don't dwell on it. That's just ignorance at work. Anyone can make a mistake in life, and that's when forgiveness comes. What forgiveness really means is that a bright memory of the event remains, and everything else, well, it happened, no big deal. They'll make it right. When you've processed the event in your heart through prayer, removing your own bitterness toward the person, then the bad part of the event ceases to exist. What stays is a clear, bright memory between you. All the good stays. All the bad is gone. You have to bring every situation to this point. If you don't, it means you're lazy inside and don't want to live honestly and correctly. If someone leaves, there isn't just one person to blame. If they leave, it means you share some responsibility too. First, you have to give them some time. Second, you need to achieve a pure and bright memory in your heart. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to keep in contact or talk to them, but the pure and bright memory must remain. What is repentance? Repentance is austerity that arises as a result of the advice of superiors. Try to understand this. When someone does something wrong, when a wrong event happens in their life, that person doesn't feel guilty. They don't consider themselves at fault. The Vedas explain that the first thing that comes into a person's heart after committing a sinful act is belief in the act itself. If a man leaves his wife, the first thing he feels is that life with another woman is better. He thinks he did the right thing and feels no problems at all. But who decides whether what we did was right or wrong? God decides. This is His world, not ours. We are here to learn, but He sets the laws and makes the decisions. God decides what's true and what's not, so we must listen to our elders. There are rare moments when an elder tells you, "Enough fooling around, you have a family, go back." At that moment, does the person want to come back? Do you think they believe they should come back? No, they don't feel guilty at all. They have 1,000 reasons why they left and why God gave them another person. They have no doubt that everything is happening exactly as it should. We suffer in relationships, so there are reasons why someone left. When a person begins to pray, the first thing that comes is clarity, a sobering up. Say some event happens, for example, an abortion. You might think it's normal. Lots of people have abortions. Maybe there were no chances to carry the child, no money, no place to live, and so on. There are many situations. The person has 1,000 reasons why they did it, but none of that changes the reality of life. And so the person begins to pray. The first thing that happens is reality sets in. Someone was supposed to get a new life, but it was taken away. When does a person come into this world? It's when a woman notices her period is late. That's when life begins. Do you understand the system? It's not when the baby is visible outside. Life starts earlier than that. If it so happens that you took that life away, then you must pray. Prayer is necessary. The first thing that comes is understanding the gravity of what was done, knowing that you will have to take responsibility for it. After that, you accept it all, agree to answer for it, and keep focusing on the holy person, bowing in devotion. You begin processing your guilt. It's not easy to digest. You need to focus on the sound of the holy person's voice. You cannot do this alone. You can't sober up on your own. You'll have 1,000 excuses for why you did it. But then, as you keep bowing, suddenly you feel it's okay. There's the deed, the suffering you must endure for it, and you are praying. And what happens next? The suffering transforms into knowledge. What is suffering? It's fear. There's a workload, an action. You peek into the kitchen and see such a mess. You get scared and want to back away. That's the first reaction. But you keep praying and praying, then you peek again at the kitchen, take a few breaths in and out. And that's your kitchen, that's your life. You just start slowly cleaning up, and in prayer, the suffering, the workload, gradually turns into knowledge. The more a person prays, the more they understand why abortions shouldn't be done. And do you know what the ultimate understanding is? A woman once told me that when she truly realized in prayer that abortions shouldn't happen, she gained this knowledge. When a child appears in the mother's womb, God in the child's heart provides for their whole life. If you lack resources, God will make sure there's enough for the child. Do you hear me? God provides life for the child if we let Him, if we don't impose our own ideas about how life should go. Understand that we can't even find a job for ourselves. Some people don't even realize that if they thought differently, everything would be different. They don't realize that getting a job by yourself is impossible. You still need God's blessing for that. You can't meet anyone on your own. Everything happens by the will of higher powers. God connects us with the employer. In their heart, they feel the desire to hire you. They start to believe in you because God gives them faith in their heart. God gives faith in relationships, and people start sticking to each other, unable to let go. All this happens by God's will. Similarly, God provides a child who is in the womb with everything necessary in life. How does He do that? He creates a powerful love in the parents' hearts, so strong that it's actually easier for the child to survive than for an adult. Often parents give their lives for the child's survival. The child lives on, while the parents may pass away. This happens many times, because God gives the child such strength in their heart that the parents love them so deeply they're willing to sacrifice their own lives. This all happens by God's will, so don't think, if I'm pregnant and have no money, I need to have an abortion. Pregnant women, please raise your hands. What, you're not pregnant? Or are you shy, worried someone might cast an evil eye on you?
Is it okay for a woman to beg on the street with a child?
Mostly if a woman really needs money, she doesn't beg. Sometimes she might ask for help, but not in the way you're imagining. She might quietly stand in a corner, near a temple usually, crying softly, saying her situation is tough and she has no money, but she doesn't do this every day. She only does it when things get unbearable. That can happen, but if she's actively begging while carrying a child around, that's how she's making a living. Why does she do that? Because that's her reality. She lives in ignorance. She doesn't know any other way to live. You understand? If you give her money, that's okay, but give her your compassion too. Tell her in your heart, may she find work and live with dignity. That's very important to say. It helps soften her heart. I once had a situation with a woman who always stood on the street begging. I was living in Moscow at the time, and I'd pass by her, sometimes giving money, sometimes not. But I knew she spent the money on alcohol. Sometimes people give me chocolates, and neither my wife nor I eat them. I give those chocolates to people in need like her. She stood there, no longer asking for anything, drunk and cursing at everyone. Usually she begged, and when she got money, she'd go drink and then curse the very people she begged from. People would pass by and she'd swear at them. One time, while she was cursing everyone passing by, I approached and gave her a chocolate bar. She stopped cursing, took the chocolate. It was a nice, expensive bar. She held it, looking at it, weighing its value. And do you know what happened next? She started nervously unwrapping it right there in front of me because she didn't fully trust it. Maybe it wasn't really chocolate, maybe I was tricking her, and she'd have a reason to curse me. After all, I hadn't left yet, but I just stood there looking at her with love. When she finally saw it was real chocolate, the next stage was her quietly hoping maybe it wasn't chocolate after all. She took a small piece, put it in her mouth, and started chewing. The moment she tasted that rich chocolate, something shifted in her mind. That compassion I had for her at that moment reached her heart, and a real change happened inside her. I don't know what happened afterward, but one way or another, this is the kind of thing we need to do. The goal isn't just to give someone bread so they shut up. The goal is to help a person who's lost, someone who doesn't know how to live right. They are just like us, a human being. It's just that fate has crushed them, and that's how they became this way. That's my answer to your question. Whether to give alms to that woman or not, that's up to you. I believe you should give food to anyone who asks, but it's better to give money only to people you know. If you know an elderly neighbor who's struggling and has nothing to eat, knock on the door and hand them money. That's definitely a blessing from God, because people who are truly hungry usually don't ask. They just suffer quietly. Some rummage through trash or beg silently. If you see someone nervously looking around trying to pull something from the trash but embarrassed, you should definitely give them money. That's 100% sure the right thing to do. But if someone's just wandering around indifferent, that person likely needs prayers more than money or food. If you give them food, that's the right thing to do. That's my answer to your question. Next question, how can we influence loved ones and relatives and help them not to suffer? This worries many people. First, let me tell you about the stages of personal development. Let's start at the very bottom. If a person is 100% convinced that only they can make their own life happy, they don't care about anyone else, and believe they must exert enormous effort and punish everyone who opposes them, that's called living in ignorance. When someone lives in ignorance, they degrade. This state means God is very far away from them. What do people who live in degradation look like? Usually they treat everyone very harshly. Women living in degradation often experience deep depression. They behave inertly, don't want to work or do anything. They're usually deeply hurt by someone close to them and don't want to live, do anything, or help anyone. Men living in degradation often drink or use drugs. Some people living in degradation start to become very cruel. They get involved in crime or shady schemes, basically taking money from people illegally. Living in degradation always leads to violence creeping closer and closer to a person. You could even live in degradation while running an entire country, robbing everyone. But eventually, it all comes back seriously. So seriously that God might not act directly against you, but will act through your loved ones to make you suffer because of it. Whenever someone lives in degradation, whether educated or not, powerful or powerless, it always ends with terrible suffering. Because that's just not a way to live, no matter how strong you are, whether you hold power or not. When you harm others in pursuit of your own happiness, health, and enjoyment of life, it always backfires just after some time. God first gives you chances to reflect, but then things get harsh. There aren't many people who live in degradation, but all of them gradually degenerate. They can't keep afloat. They lose their life and happiness in the process. How to help them, I'll tell you shortly. The next group is people who live in passion. What does it mean to live in passion? It means you're a little closer to God already. You already have a conscience. Those in degradation have no conscience. They do whatever they want. But a person living in passion already has one. However, their life view is still flawed. They believe that the most important thing in life is success. They watch movies showing beautiful women, people driving fancy cars, achieving success through their efforts. You have to be very strong. Usually they show really fit young men and very attractive women. It's all about showing strength. This person achieves everything in life through their own power. This is what living in passion means. The biggest values in such a life are the apartment, a car, a good social status, nice money, a great job, and that cool outward appearance. That's the classic picture, a person driven by passion and ambition. What does this life do to a person? At first they feel inspired by this lifestyle. But then comes the next stage, because living in passion means a lot of hard work just to maintain that status quo. So the second stage is when difficulties start piling up. They have to work really hard to keep up their lifestyle. This second stage is called tension. You always have to push yourself to reach the goals you set. On top of that, the government often contributes to this pressure. This usually doesn't apply to your current situation, which is quite unique. A tough situation, rare for a country to be in. This is already a very hard situation, but typically the government encourages stress through mortgages. It says, don't worry about it, just take the loan now, and you've got everything you need in life. That basically means you're sold into slavery because you no longer have any real freedom of choice. You have to work and pay, work and pay. And living in this slavery, the person feels mentally trapped. It gets unbearably hard. They start losing their mind because they can't afford anything, can't go anywhere, can't even get sick. They just have to keep working and paying, all because of that stupid apartment. They'd rather not even see it anymore. The person finally realizes the true value of their life and the lack of value in what they traded it for. This is what living in passion really looks like. Life is more precious than anything, more than an apartment, a car, or anything else. But a person living in passion doesn't see it that way. To them, the car and the apartment are worth more than life itself. And slowly this mental strain leads to a breaking point. First, the person loses their free time. They just slave away like a workhorse all day long, working to maintain their desires and interests. Then comes the breaking point, when the person starts losing strength. When we were on the way here, the driver told me about his life. He had a successful family, his own company, and a wife. But in 2009, during the crisis in the Czech Republic, he lost his company, had to take out loans, and lost his apartment. He started living in a rented place. His wife couldn't handle it. For a woman, it's very hard to cope with a change in status. She lived with a certain status, and when that changes, it drives a woman crazy. She needs things to stay the same. If anything changes, she loses it. Now imagine this was a strong man with his own company. His wife had expensive clothes. They had their own apartment. Then, bam, in 2 months, all gone. The wife was young, beautiful, had a small child, and she just left him for someone else. He lost his company, his apartment, then his wife. And at that moment, he mentally broke down. That's what living in passion looks like. Everyone who lives this way eventually hits this stage because this kind of life is not meant for a human being. We're meant for different goals. And then it's time for spiritual practice. After the breaking point, the fourth stage unfolds, either degradation, falling back into ignorance, or moving toward pure goodness. A person can't stay long in passion. It's just a movie playing on TV, and sadly, the same in real life. That movie represents simply not understanding what life is. We need to play with life a bit, fiddle with it, and so on. But there comes a time when you need to start thinking with your own head. You won't ride the wave your whole life. Somehow you caught the wave, but in a life full of passion, staying under the wave is not part of the plan. In all these movies about life in passion, they show the same thing. When a strong person lives, they catch a wave, they still use their own strength to shoot, crush everyone, finish everyone off, and still get back what's theirs. That's how it's shown in these movies. But know that in practice, in real life, this is not how things happen. If a person lives like this, they actually lose everything, not get it back. The time comes and this whole picture collapses. I'm not talking about wealthy people right now. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the purpose of life. There are people with more wealth and those with less. All this is connected with a person's devoutness. Now I'm talking about a person's aspirations, values, about what attracts them, what they want in life. When a person becomes disillusioned with life in passion, they want something more. And then the person begins to live in pure goodness. What is a life in pure goodness? Living in pure goodness means that the most important value in a person's life is self-improvement. They want to understand everything. They want to understand how to build relationships better, how to love, how to forgive, how to care, how to overcome their fate. Sooner or later, such a person living in pure goodness completely changes their entire life. They change their daily routine, change their diet, change their attitude to habits and to people. All this happens sequentially, one after the other. Eventually they come to pray. They come to understand that there is the sound of a holy person. That sound controls intelligence. That intelligence is the main function that controls everything. That if a person is in a state of concentration and faith, then such a person can overcome everything in their life and in their fate. This is called living in pure goodness. That's what a person was born for. A person has entered a state of pure goodness and started living a normal life. When the lecture is over, people will come up and say, "Dr. Torsunov, I listened to your lectures. My life started moving, I began to live. I also started living the same way when I listened to my mentor's lectures." Life begins only when a person sobers up from all this and begins to build a relationship with God, with human purity, forgiving, asking for forgiveness, working on themselves. Life is just beginning at this time. Regardless of whether you're 50, 60, or 70, it will continue further. There is a great saint named Chanakya Pandit. He says, let's figure out what to invest in. He was a royal advisor. He lived about 300 years ago. There were noblemen around him. He told them, let's figure out what to invest in. When you have means, it's important to invest them in something. He says, let's figure out what to invest in. You invest in a house, in a wife, in clothes, in money. You were born naked and you will leave this life naked. In the next life, you will no longer have everything you invested in. You've lost it. How long is this life? We think there's still a lot left. How much is a lot? 20, 30 years, what is it? It's nothing. I've already turned 50 and I didn't even notice how it flew by. To be honest, just like that, and it all went away. So what's left? At best, another 20 years. It seems like that. Actually, it's unknown. The further you go, the less chance you have. Time condenses over time. You need to understand that if a person invests in a relationship with God, then they are investing in eternity. Chanakya Pandit says, invest in your character. When you part with your physical body, the subtle energy body doesn't go anywhere. It remains with you. You keep living with it. This character remains with you. And through the years and the distances on any road, on any side, the song remains with the person. The song will not part with you. God always remains with a person. He will not part with you. The character and their good deeds remain with a person. All the good things you've done remain with you. When a person is born in the next life, all this turns into devoutness. What is devoutness? A person can have a good family, a good education, they can have strong intuition, they can have powerful speech, they may have a strong willpower, a strong memory, they may have the ability to understand where and how to make money. All this is called devoutness. It comes from past lives. This means that you have done good deeds, not evil ones. But often people use devoutness the same way we use prayer. Everything has become good. Dr. Torsunov, I don't want to pray. Similarly, a person is born in the next life with great devoutness and they think, why strain myself? Let's have fun in this life. Until they get hit on the head. This is exactly how the water cycle works in nature. A vicious circle. First we accumulate devoutness, then we begin to be proud of ourselves, enjoy life, and degrade. This is called a journey in a vicious circle. According to the Vedas, this is what it is. To prevent this, to break out of all this, you need to establish other relationships in life. It's just that people often live and do good deeds. But why? They understand that if you do good deeds, you'll be happy. You accumulate devoutness, then become arrogant, and so on in a vicious circle. To break this vicious circle, a person must establish a relationship with God. When a relationship with God is established, the vicious circle is broken, and a person only goes upward. The Vedas explain that there are 2 zones in heaven above. One zone is for those people who just live honestly and well. These people are also praying. Everything is normal. You won't go up there without prayer. They live right, do everything as needed, but there is one problem. During prayer, they think only of themselves. They ask God for everything to be normal, to have money, children, a husband, an apartment. They don't turn to their own powers for this, they ask God for it. Do you think God gives in this case? Of course He does. But in the next life, you end up on heavenly planets where the soul doesn't want to work because it didn't strive for work. It strived for happiness in a relationship with God. It ends up on higher planets where you don't need to work. The soul rejoices. It's a great resort there. Everything is very cool. The Vedas describe that the soul has been enjoying itself there for many hundreds of years. And then when devoutness runs out, it goes back to Earth, to the middle planets, to the zone where you have to suffer again. But often the soul from the higher planets is not in Russia. The soul from the lower planets ends up in Russia. Where does a soul from higher planets end up? In Europe, it is born in a beautiful, attractive body. But it lost the habit of working. Up there, it hadn't worked up there for thousands of years. It has lost the habit of working, has great devoutness, good character, beautiful appearance, and doesn't want to work. And what does it want to do? Enjoy itself. Therefore, this soul starts injecting drugs because it wants to experience the same happiness as there, and then it lives like that. The Vedas say that for such people who have been to that heaven, special education is needed to get there again. But nowadays there is no such education, therefore people go to hell after that. They injected drugs, got high on earth, and then went lower. There is another path to the higher planets. This is when a person not only lives right, but also does it for God. They're trying to build a relationship with holiness, then they go in a different direction to heavenly planets, where they continue to build a relationship with God and perform austerities, developing themselves. Then they go to the spiritual world where there is no material body, no suffering, no self-interest. That's the situation. As for a person who has entered pure goodness, they have 3 stages of development. The first stage is wanting happiness. What is happiness? As one person told me, Dr. Torsunov, why are you torturing yourself like that? I ask, in what way? He came up to me after the lecture and said, well, let's be honest. Living without meat is bad, right? Everyone understands this. I say, if you don't get drunk, then no one cares either. Everyone gathered. He says, but you don't drink at all. I say, no. He says, why are you torturing yourself? I don't know what to say to him. Of course I can say what I want to say. A pig likes to eat excrement. The taste is specific. When you look into its eyes, everything is shining there, and it loves excrement terribly. If it could speak in a human voice, it would say, "Listen, you're missing out." Pure goodness is living from a position of knowledge. If you want to understand what you're eating, then go to the shop and buy a pig's head, prepare it, and eat it. Then you'll understand what you're eating. You need to see everything. If you don't see it, it seems to you that everything is so beautiful, elegant, and already processed. When people bury their loved ones, they quickly leave, because there's a certain smell there, and when you eat meat, you absorb this suffering. And when a person realizes this, they don't like such food, it's not tasty to them, they're happy to eat without meat, they feel enormous happiness. Today they prepared food for us not only without meat, but with prayers, and fed us when we arrived after the plane. We ate and it felt so good. When prayer is put into food, it becomes pure, there's no violence in it. Who are people in pure goodness? They've learned what true happiness is. They've already understood what a daily routine is. When you get up early, it's great. Go to bed earlier. Forgive everyone. The food is pure, blessed. It feels so good in the sunshine. You wish happiness to all people. Your heart rejoices. Everything has already become well. A person living such a life enters the first stage. The first stage means that you've felt the taste of life in pure goodness, but you don't know how to practice it properly. The first stage means a strong, disgusting aversion to everyone who is not in pure goodness. It's called pride. Such a person looks at someone who smokes and thinks that it's not good, although they themselves smoked only 6 months ago. I had a case. I was in the elevator with a friend. He recently quit smoking. There was a person finishing a cigarette right in the elevator. There was smoke all around, and the three of us were standing there. My friend quit smoking and started working out at the gym, and he's pretty tall. He looked at the guy in such a way that the cigarette fell out of his mouth. He got scared. Thank God the elevator stopped. My friend looked at him, but he was kind. The man ran out in horror. I asked my friend, "What happened?" He said, "This man made us breathe in this stench. I hate it." I asked, "Why do you hate it?" He said, "I want a life full of pure goodness, and here is degradation." But I didn't have that reaction because I've never smoked in my life. I just feel that the smell is bad and I have compassion for this person. I think, why live like this? It doesn't make any sense. I didn't feel hate or anger. Why did he feel that way? Because he has reached the first stage. The first stage means that you've had a taste of a good life, but you don't know how to live it. And it seems to you that living such a good life means subjugating everyone around you. This means that mom, dad, and the dog should all live in pure goodness. The dog is the first because it doesn't resist. We immediately leave it without meat, giving it only milk with prayers. Then mom with dad, it's harder. Then we start, mom. And mom is a woman. Her conscience is close to her heart. God is very close. She says, "Daughter, somehow we're not used to living like this. Please forgive us. We are such sinners. Don't touch us. Please leave us alone." The daughter puts pressure on her mom. There was a time in my life when I went to a spiritual program, and there stood a man in the renounced clothes of the Vaishnava tradition. Renounced clothing means saffron color. He was on a spiritual program, and his child, his son, ran up to him, and behind him stood the woman whom he had actually abandoned. He took on a renounced appearance and went to serve in an ashram. But his son doesn't understand. He runs up and pulls on these clothes. He feels ashamed. He's a renounced one, but a child came from somewhere. According to the Vedas, this is called monkey renunciation. There was such a case. I'm walking along the road around a holy place in India, and there are 3 monkeys sitting there. So much pure goodness, complete idol. A father, a mother, and a small child are sitting. The 3 of them are sitting, very pure, an ideal family. I think I should reward them. I take a banana and throw it. All 3 monkeys immediately go berserk and rush after 1 banana. Dad drives everyone away, hits everyone with his paws, shouts, gets angry. I throw the 2nd banana. I think mom will get it. No, Dad takes it for himself too. It was a terrible situation, and I had to make efforts to feed all 3 of them. Our goal was to feed the monkeys, and we finally succeeded. The idea is that when we present ourselves as very exalted, when in fact we want to live in pure goodness, so that everything in life is good, we torment our relatives. It means monkey renunciation. Everything is the same in our hearts as in theirs. We've just understood, felt how to live better, and we don't understand how to do it properly. Properly means that you need not only to get a taste of how to live right, but also to pray in order to get used to how your relatives live. Getting used to it means accepting your fate, making sure that you don't have any problems at all with how they live. Give them the opportunity to live the way they want to. Let me tell you about a little situation in my life. All women are very relaxed by nature, and that's why they're beautiful. Since women are relaxed, it's very difficult for them to get out of harmony with the bed. They are in complete harmony with the bed. It's very good for them to lie harmoniously on the bed. And when they are lying on the bed, it's very difficult for any woman to get up. Raise your hand if it's easy for you to get out of bed. It happens, but very rarely. Only 3 people raise their hands. Ladies, now, who finds it hard to get out of bed? Quite a few. That's just how women's nature works. It's hard to get out of bed. And at first, this really worried me a lot. I thought we got married to practice spirituality together, but she just lies there all the time. What's going on? We even give lectures about how to be full of pure goodness and forgiveness, but I just wanted to say to her, come on, get up now. The root of this struggle was that I wanted to enjoy life at someone else's expense, because the idea is to accept your fate as it is. Pray to God and accept your current situation first. Your wife is sleeping, that's how she can live. Why is she lying there? Because it's hard for her to get up, not because she doesn't want to wake up early. But you don't understand that yet. You think she's your enemy because she's making things hard for you. I started overcoming this feeling through prayer. Eventually I realized I shouldn't bother her. I need to protect her sleep. When I did that, the first thing that happened was she relaxed. She stopped worrying that I'd come and ask her to get up. That was the first change. The second amazing thing happened. She came to me and said, I also want to get up earlier, like you. See, she first calmed down, and through my heart, the desire to wake up early entered her heart. She started to get interested in it. Then we began to think about how to help her actually get up. We tried a method where I'd come over and say, get up. She didn't get up. I'd come back and say it again, always with love, of course. She'd say, leave me alone. Nothing worked. So we sat down again, thought it through, and came to a conclusion that I should come once, very gently say, the sun has risen, my sunshine, please get out of bed. Say it with love, without any attachment to the result, and then leave immediately, and I shouldn't come back to ask again. A miracle happened when we did that. First of all, I understood what it means not to interfere in someone else's fate, but to inspire them. When we did that, she actually started getting up. Can you imagine? She got up early and was really happy, saying, thank you, you woke me up so gently. And she prayed. I'm just sharing a small example from my life so you can understand how to overcome problems with relatives. There are no problems with relatives themselves. The problems lie in our own lives. Relatives represent our past lives. A man who tries to act cool in front of his wife, like he's an early riser, was actually a woman in his past life, because his wife simply embodies his past life. That's all. Nothing to be proud of. If you have a male body, it's easier for you to get up early. That doesn't mean it's easy for women. You shouldn't be proud of yourself at all. Dr. Torsunov, you have a woman, so I understand what you're saying. But I have a man, and men, are dumb like sheep. They work, they don't want to live in pure goodness. Men have their own struggles, women have theirs, and everyone has their own difficulties. You have to get used to those difficulties through prayer. The first stage is to accept the other person into your life, accept all their struggles. If you don't want to accept them, that means you won't be happy. There are no other ways to fix relationships. Just recently, a young lady said, Dr. Torsunov, what do I do with this young man? Should I kill him or what? I want to be happy. Well, to be happy, this is the path you need to walk. And the first stage of that path is to find peace in your heart. Let me share with you a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, a sacred scripture that perfectly captures this situation. What is a life that brings complete happiness? When a person's feelings, chasing happiness in this world, are very selfish, they grab everything for themselves. This is called living in ignorance. When feelings are driven by passion, a person might want everyone to be happy, but still lives mainly for themselves. So they gradually get more and more tangled up in their own fate. But when a person begins to live in pure goodness, their feelings already want to live righteously, though they haven't yet turned inward. These feelings want to find a life in pure goodness outside themselves. But this world only offers tests. Living in pure goodness comes as a reward. Now look around. There isn't a single person here who isn't practicing some form of spiritual discipline. Everyone is practicing spirituality, but I didn't start that way. I started with a father who drank and beat my mother. I was just a small child. I lived in a terrible situation where I didn't know the way out, and it was terrifying. That's where I began. But bit by bit, through working on myself, everything changed. My mother also began her spiritual path, my sister did too, and so on. Many people around me, relatives, friends, they all turned their lives around. All of this happened because of dedicated self-work, but that came later. At first, nobody understood me. My mom actually thought I was mentally ill at first. She studied my condition and took me to a psychiatrist. It was a terrifying situation. This was over 30 years ago. Now it's clear everything has changed since then. The point is, at the first stage, a person feels what it means to live rightly, but they still don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know where happiness lies, the Vedas explain. There's a beautiful verse that goes something like this: only the person whose feelings flow like rivers into the ocean can find true happiness and peace. The ocean represents the soul, a person's relationship with God. It's the heart space we've been talking about, always full and serenely calm. Serenely calm means the person believes in God. They connect with the higher through sound, tuning their mind toward purity and holiness. At this time, feelings that once sought happiness outside begin to be nourished by this peace, this calmness. And the Vedas say, only the one who directs their feelings toward the ocean flowing like rivers can be truly happy, because our desires are endless. There are so many of them. A person overcomes their fate through prayer, with their feelings constantly flowing into the ocean. And that ocean is always full and serenely calm, because no matter what happens in life, this ocean can overcome it all. You can overcome any event with prayer. Only such a person can find peace and calm, as the verse says. Not the one who chases after satisfying their desires. Not the one trying to change their relatives. Not the one trying to reform everyone. Not the one trying to change the whole world. Only the one who fills their feelings with peace and calm through prayer ultimately conquers this world. Because our feelings are connected, we are connected to our relatives. For the sake of higher love, we must remember that we are forever bound by an invisible thread to our loved ones. It's true, we are all connected by an invisible thread to one another. When my feelings are filled from within, and my heart becomes like an ocean, serenely calm, then that energy flows out to all my relatives, and their destinies begin to change too. This is called a blessing. Fortune starts to flow from such a person. So here's the question: how do you influence your close relatives and help them avoid suffering? The first step is to find peace regarding their flaws. Please pray that you don't get upset about their shortcomings, and that you don't get upset about the fact that they upset you. This is a big secret that most people don't understand. Often people come to me and say, Dr. Torsunov, my grandma and grandpa forced my child to eat meat and we're at war. What should I do? Understand that the problem isn't whether you give meat to the child or not. The real issue is that you don't respect your parents, their opinions, their rules, their understanding of things. Respect their lives, respect what they understand. Say, Mom, Dad, we respect your opinion and we'll try to understand it ourselves too. We're clueless, we don't get that meat should be given to the child, but we'll try. And they'll calm down and say, okay, we'll just try somehow. Actually, I had a similar situation in my life. I was writing a dissertation and studied all these dietetics topics. It turns out that all leading nutritionists around the world have long agreed that meat is not actually healthy food. More than that, about half of them say you shouldn't eat it at all, and the other half say it should be limited. But no one thinks that meat has ever cured anyone or helped them recover. No one considers it a super important healthy food. These views have basically settled in nutrition science by now. We just still think it's great food out of habit. Most scientists explain this by saying that nowadays animals are raised on hormones and antibiotics, and all those substances get into our bodies along with the meat. But they don't say that this food doesn't really promote health. Because people are attached to flesh, they crave eating it, so they justify that it's necessary. Just like we're attached to our own bodies, we're also attached to flesh in general. This attachment has two sides in life. It's a powerful force that almost no one can overcome in this world. There are two types of attachment to flesh. The first is desire, the coarse craving to eat it. The second is a subtler attachment, the desire for sex. While the coarse craving for flesh can be overcome by experiencing the real taste of food without meat or violence, the subtler sexual desire is nearly impossible to overcome. The Vedas say that if a man sits next to a beautiful woman he's attracted to, she's completely naked, and he feels no sexual arousal. That means there isn't even a shadow of sin in his heart. He is absolutely holy, but if someone doesn't have absolute holiness, then it's 100% certain he will desire to possess that body. So these forces are so strong and powerful that people just can't handle them. Some say, Dr. Torsunov, I just can't quit eating meat. Just don't think about it. Whether you can or can't doesn't matter. That's not the problem. The problem is that you get stuck obsessing over your weaknesses. Just keep thinking about the holy person. Keep bowing to them. The time will come when your heart will be so purified that you won't have any problems with your habits at all. When I was writing my dissertation, we did a study and found that 50% of the people who listened to my lectures completely quit smoking, and 50% quit drinking. That's a significant result. We found that most people quit smoking and drinking not because they forced themselves to stop. They simply forget about it. It just stopped being interesting, you know? Like in a moment, they just forget. It no longer holds their attention because new tastes and interests take over. When a person experiences higher pleasures, the lower cravings naturally fall away, so you don't need to worry about your life at all. Don't stress if you feel pulled toward something, like if there's a mistress involved. Don't worry about that. Just focus on God and bow down to Him. Because if it's happening, there's a serious reason behind it. Trying to fight it will only make things worse. Just keep bowing, think about the holy person, the mind clears up immediately. An hour of prayer is enough to cut off those unnecessary attachments. Just an hour of prayer in that mindset. Don't try to suppress yourself. It's one thing when people suppress themselves, but then they start suppressing their family members too. First, you need to detach from yourself and simply serve. There are two ways to live. One way is having a positive attitude toward yourself. That's living in passion, and everyone in passion thinks they're good people. I gave a man the Bhagavad Gita to read once, and he amazed me. He basically said exactly what I said to myself when I first read it. There's a chapter called Divine and Demonic Natures. After reading it, he said, Dr. Torsunov, this is amazing, really great. I said, what exactly is so great about it? He said, it captured everything divine. My heart responded. I have all of that inside me, and I also learned about the demonic natures. When a person lives in passion, they only see the divine in themselves. But obviously their husband, wife, kids, those people just don't measure up. Someone living in passion thinks their heart is completely pure, but when they move toward pure goodness, the first thing that happens is they become holy, pure as a tear. Then as they keep growing, that holiness fades, and they start seeing a few sins in their own heart. They just become a good person. They think of themselves as a good person. Then as they keep developing through prayer, they begin to feel how many sins they really have. And then when someone truly becomes holy, they see themselves as a sinner, and they view the people around them as very elevated, even if those people are only taking small steps toward God. Why does this happen? Because the person develops a strong, intense desire to see only the good in others. At the same time, they understand that the greatest value in life is recognizing their own flaws, because that helps them grow. Their strictness with themselves becomes their most valuable medicine, and the strictness from their mentor towards them becomes their greatest mercy at this stage. Meanwhile, kindness and compassion toward others become the most precious values in their relationships with people. But all of that comes later. It all starts with the fact that someone close to you smokes, and you just want to strangle them, because you want to live a pure life, but they get in your way. That's the first stage. It means you don't have purity in your heart yet. Only a desire to enjoy the purity you've begun to taste. That taste of pure life has become clear, and you like it already. There are about 30 minutes left in the lecture. You know, when I lecture, especially with such dear people as you, I feel very happy, and I forget about time and everything else and just want to talk and talk. So we're talking about the hardest topic, how to influence close relatives and help them not to suffer. The desire to help them not to suffer is strong, right? We have a huge desire in our hearts. The first thing we need to do is figure out what that desire really is. Ladies often come to me and say, Dr. Torsunov, my husband drinks. How do I help him stop? I ask, why do you want to help him stop drinking? She says, because he's suffering. I say, who's really suffering, him or you? She says, I guess it's me. He's just having fun. I say, okay, then let's start there. Who do you really want to help? Myself. Well, if you want to help yourself, then don't touch him. Leave him alone. He's drinking because he can't be happy. He's destroying his life. He's going downhill. When a person drinks and drinks and drinks, what are they doing? They're transforming their body into an animal form of life. When I was researching this topic, trying to understand it all, I noticed an interesting analogy. Take a photo of someone's eyes when they're drunk. The eyes are the mirror of the mind. Then take a photo of, say, a dog's eyes. You'll see the look is basically the same. This means that when a person is drunk, they've lost their intelligence. Only their mind remains. Animals don't have intelligence. They live by their mind. They just want to enjoy life, and when they enjoy, they whine or whimper. A person who drinks either whines or enjoys life. They have no other options, no desire to grow. That's what it means to fall into alcoholism. When someone becomes an alcoholic, they're born in their next life as an animal. They lose the need for intelligence and don't want to live a life of reason. And a life of intelligence means austerity practice. Austerity means accepting fate, accepting it with God's help. Clearly, you can't accept it on your own. Only through the sound of the holy person, through God, can you accept fate. The immediate question arises, what exactly am I supposed to accept, Dr. Torsunov? Why suffer? Wouldn't it be better just to live alone and be done with it? That's the question people ask right away. Let's keep moving. The first stage is to use prayer and inner effort to turn your feelings inward and accept your fate. Acceptance means calming your heart. Yes, my husband drinks, my child uses drugs. Yes, that's true, but I can't help them until I accept my fate. This is my fate. It's painful to think that way. It hurts to accept it, but it's my fate. My past mistakes in previous lives have created this life for me. It hurts to think about it. You don't need to dwell on it. You just need to pray, I want to serve you, I want to serve you, I want to serve you. And over time, day by day, over several months, you will feel that you have accepted your relatives as they are. From this moment on, you'll start noticing amazing changes in how you behave. You'll begin smiling at them, speaking kind words, caring for them, not with anger or disgust, but with love. You'll calmly endure all the nonsense they do or struggle with it, and then forgive them. Sometimes close family members hurt you so deeply it feels impossible to stay calm. But the next day during your prayer, that pain fades, and peace and joy return to your heart. At that point, those around you will start to change. First, they'll feel deep gratitude toward you for your behavior. Second, they'll calm down around you, feeling it's possible to live with you peacefully. They won't feel the need to change themselves. Instead, they'll sense that everything is okay now, that you're on the right path, practicing spirituality sincerely. Thank God life gets better living with this person. They say, great lectures, keep going. Once a man came up to me with his wife and said, I don't listen to your lectures myself, not necessary, but thanks for my wife. She's become a decent woman. She's not tormenting me anymore. This person developed a taste for spiritual knowledge in his heart, but he didn't feel the need to change anything himself. But something remarkable happens. He can't hide his gratitude from himself. Gratitude arises in his heart. He's thankful, not just to me, but to his wife too, because he's been given a chance to live normally. Everyone in this life needs love. No one can live without it in this world. When you start filling your loved ones with love, that's the second stage. It means gratitude. The third stage is interest. A child might come up and say, Mommy, I like how you sit there every morning. Can I sit with you? They might not even fully understand the need to pray yet. They just like the feeling of it and get up early just to be near Mom. Who here has a child that acts like this? Raise your hand. There you go. That's a sign the child won't get into drugs. Understand that they're already under the influence of goodness energy and starting to live a different kind of life. They develop a taste for different things. At first, it might seem impossible. The kid's a drug user, watching bad movies, addicted to gaming and can't stop. All of that just means they're unhappy, that's all. Accept your child as they are, then keep loving them. Accept them as they are and love them. After some time, maybe a month, the child will start to relax. Once they relax, they'll need less screen time. They'll calm down and become more inclined to listen because your calmness and love are radiating to them. At that point, you'll realize you don't need to punish them with lectures. You just need to give them love, and you'll start doing exactly that. Next stage, they'll develop a taste for listening to you and being around you. Then they'll accept you as a senior figure. When that happens, you can gently and carefully advise them on what not to do and how to live better. Whenever you give advice, always offer an alternative. For example, maybe don't watch that action movie. Instead, let's watch this one, where the characters try to live right, pray, and so on. There are tons of wholesome moral films, thousands, even tens of thousands, but hardly anyone watches or studies them. Try to find these movies, watch them as a family, and discuss them together. They're still movies with interesting plots and drama, but these films help kids grow, giving them real happiness and understanding of how to live a good life. The fourth stage is change, when a person starts transforming their life. But this stage doesn't come quickly. I'd say it usually takes about 3 to 4 years to reach it. Even at the first stage, when you forgive your loved ones, life already gets easier for you. At the second stage, they begin to cut down on harmful habits. For example, a person who drank might start quitting, and you can see they're close to giving it up altogether. Raise your hand if that's already happened for you. Who wants to share? Tell us what happened, how it went.
My daughter was addicted to drugs at 18. When I started praying, everything literally changed before my eyes, over about 1.5 years.
How did it start? Did you accept your child? Did you get used to her being an addict and forgive her?
Yes.
Did you find peace about it?
I prayed before the Virgin Mary and felt calm come over me. I prayed for my daughter.
Good. You found peace. What happened next? Please tell us your story.
At first, I didn't even know if it would work out. I wanted to send her to a Christian rehab center where, basically, God would guide everything. I prayed, "Let your will be done, not mine." My daughter didn't go to that Christian rehab center where they help addicts. But suddenly, she just sat at home and started praying on her own.
Did she pray next to you or by herself?
She prayed separately. It was kind of distant. My mom was in the next room, praying a lot too. And in about a month, my daughter got rid of the addiction herself. It's been over 1 year now. She's studying at 2 colleges and prays regularly. And like you said, first she started getting used to listening to me. I carefully give her recommendations, but I can see she actually follows them. She got accepted into the university I dreamed about. She's basically walking in my footsteps. I never even dreamed of such happiness, that my child would choose the same profession.
You're not jinxing anything. You can say it out loud.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, you will be even more blessed for sharing your experience. Your experience is unique, and everyone here in this room needs to hear it.
That's why I'm saying it.
I really appreciate that. You need to understand that what this woman said isn't just agreeing with me. It's a universal law that flows through life everywhere and always. The first stage is acceptance through prayer. The second stage is gratitude. The third stage is interest from your loved ones. The fourth stage is change. This will always happen everywhere if you put effort into prayer, because a loved one changes through the heart. Relationships are always built through the heart in reality. Know that there are 3 kinds of life in a human body. If your relatives are in degradation and you strive for pure goodness, you shouldn't build close relationships with them or talk much about whether they're good or bad. Just fulfill your duties to them, talk less, argue less, because all those conversations only lead to quarrels, less arguing, more thinking about God. If you interact with ignorant people, it's good both for you and them if your contact with them happens only in your heart. Now, how should this happen in your heart? Overcome the pain, disgust, and anger you feel toward them. Flip your heart around. Make yourself pray for them. You won't be able to say right away that they're good. That would be self-deception. You just need to think about the holy person, remember those people, and learn to be calm about them and their faults. When that calmness comes, and it will come, that's victory. You'll feel in your heart that the situation is under your control. You'll sense that things will soon change. Things you never even dreamed of will happen. Your whole life will change completely. That knowledge will settle deep inside you, and then you'll relax. You'll really leave them alone. You'll keep fulfilling your duties toward them and start treating them kindly. You'll talk kindly, behave decently, and endure humiliation from them. Like when someone drinks, parties, acts foolishly, living with that person is a huge humiliation. But for you, that humiliation will stop feeling like humiliation. You'll be calm and understand that this is your fate, something you have to overcome, and then miracles will start to happen. When you overcome this, when you calm down, your feelings will start to flow like rivers into the ocean, and the strength inside you will grow. Gradually, you'll start to notice changes. Slowly, little by little, the person will change the way they treat you. They'll start treating you more calmly, and at that moment they might even use more drugs, feel happier about it, or drink more. Don't fall for the provocation. Don't be afraid of anything. While you're not angry at them, you can speak the truth. You can say, "Son, please eat something." He might say, "Mom, what are you talking about? I'm standing here by the window." You say, "Son, you've been standing by the window for 3 days now. Go eat something." It sounds like a joke. But it's no joke, that's life, and it happens. You'll find yourself able to give him advice because you're no longer angry or hurting. When someone gives advice from a place of pain, it just triggers pain back, and the person doesn't want to listen. But you should speak kindly. Eat something. Come on, everything will be fine. Let's go to bed. Stop lying around and throwing up. When you treat him with kindness and humanity, you'll start to see change. The first thing to happen in his heart is he'll relax, calm down, and realize he can live with you the way he does. What happens next?
His conscience will awaken.
Exactly. He'll feel ashamed to live beside you. He'll think, my wife is holy and I'm foolish. He'll truly think that way. He'll idolize his loved one and suffer over his life and behavior, crying and struggling. I have hundreds of examples of this happening to different people, and it always happens the same way. At first, a man doesn't show anything, and a woman thinks, how long is this going to take? It's all so slow, nothing's happening. But really, everything's happening fast, because the iceberg melts from underneath, you just don't see it. Then suddenly, in one moment, you see the change. He'll come up to you and say, that's it, I don't want to live like this anymore. Why did it all resolve for that kid in just a month? Because she was praying in one room, grandma was praying in another, and the dog was praying in the third room. The kid had no choice because the whole atmosphere was filled with purity and spiritual power. Why does the kid begin using drugs? Because the home's atmosphere is like that. Parents live in degradation, fight with each other, watch porn, and so drugs are left for the kid. They are not interested in fighting or watching porn. They like drugs, you see. Degradation can show itself in many ways, but if the parents pray and everyone prays around, what options does the kid have? They can't live in degradation in that situation. When the sun rises, all darkness leaves that place. When people start connecting with the sun, darkness disappears from their lives. Asato masadgamaya. Asato means absence of knowledge. You don't know how to live. Sad means knowledge. When a person receives knowledge in their heart, there's no doubt about how to live right. They feel, I know now, this is how I will live. Tamaso majyotirgamaya. Tamaso means darkness, living in degradation. Jyotir means the sun. When a person starts connecting with God, all ignorance immediately leaves their home, their family, their life. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Mrityur means death. Amritam means the gentle nectar, like taste of love for God. When a person feels this taste, they feel the sweetness of holiness and divinity in their heart. Death withdraws from their life and from the lives of their loved ones. You can start healing cancer with prayer. You can begin healing the entire situation in Ukraine with this. All this can be overcome by the power of the gentle nectar like love for God. Mrityur represents the terrible force of time when people die under its influence. But this can all be defeated by the power inside. Someone wrote to me, how do I help my relatives not to suffer? Don't focus on their suffering. First, pay attention to what's in your own heart. Help always comes from inside, not from outside. People who try to help others just with words are living in ignorance, but those who first turn their power inward and then help from inside, those are the ones acting rightly. Now, as the Orthodox choir sings, we'll wish everyone happiness, but before that, I'd like to hear a couple of your questions. Go ahead. Will you hand over the microphone? Give happiness to others and God will give it back to you. We learn through real-life examples.
I have a question about wishing happiness. For example, when I listen to the voice of a holy person, I feel more the personality of another holy person and can't focus on the voice itself.
There's no record of the voice you love?
No. So it's like sitting on two chairs and getting nowhere.
There are very elevated saints like Seraphim of Sarov, Sergius of Radonej, and others who usually don't have a voice. But there are people walking the spiritual path as well. Don't be so picky. Just take someone who prays sincerely and has been doing it for a long time, maybe a monk, and try to bow to your holy person in their spirit. What do you need them for? They are your lifeline. They teach you. Learning in the heart comes through sound. Sound is the most powerful, victorious force. There's a prayer in the Vedas that says, whoever sees the sound form of the Lord in their heart during prayer sees things as they really are. Knowledge immediately comes into their life. You have to see the sound image of the Lord in your heart. This happens only through the sound of the person praying. When you listen to their voice, you forgive their imperfections. You might feel that the voice doesn't inspire you much. That means you see the flaws. But worship that voice, accept it. Let it just be a friend guiding you toward holiness. Then you will accept this voice and receive that same power. But if you really don't like the voice, find someone else whose sound brings victory to your heart. This sound is usually rich, strong, an inner voice. Keep searching and you'll definitely find it. If you feel you have an image of a holy person in your heart, keep bowing to them. Only through sound can you establish yourself in prayer in your heart. If you don't listen to another person's sound, the knowledge of how to pray won't properly enter your ear. This knowledge is hard to reach on your own. It's passed from one person to another. Listen and repeat along with them. Repeat exactly as they do, in the same tone, the same spirit. Maybe your speed will be different, but don't focus on speed. Focus on the tone and mood, just like they do. Gradually, when you feel that emotion, it will settle in your heart and start a revolution there. It will become strong inside. And at that moment, when you feel joy from that sound, you need to pass that joy on to the image of the holy person you see before you in your heart. Bow to them. And then it all connects. The problem is that you tend to see the voice itself as an object of worship, but it's really an object of help. It can be an object of worship if the voice and the image come from the same person, which is ideal but rare. Then listen to their voice and offer your devotion to this person. And the question naturally arises, why does the saint need to receive back their devotion? Here's why. When people go to the Ganges, the holy river, they take water from it and offer it back. That's the best kind of offering. When we listen to the voice of a holy person, the best thing we can do for them is to offer back their own spirit, to become like them. That's the highest expression of devotion and love. There's nothing more we can give. What can we possibly give a holy person? They already have everything. All we can do is follow them and try to be like them. When we do this, strong joy arises in the heart. The Lord rejoices in the heart, and from that moment our victory over fate begins. But the problem is that most people are picky. They want an even holier, more elevated person. That's just pride. Simply accept anyone who's sincere about the spiritual path. Be with them, cooperate, try as they do, and you'll see that it helps tremendously. Did I answer your question? Thank you, that was a good one.
Dr. Torsunov, I'm already an adult. I'm quite a bit older now. My children are grown. There was a really tough time, the Soviet Union collapsed, and many people's lives changed dramatically. Raising children was truly hard. The situation in the country was quite difficult. But I had a good upbringing. My mother didn't pray much, but my grandmother prayed a lot. And she taught me how to pray as soon as my kids were born. Maybe I didn't fully understand it back then, but I practiced it. And then the situation in the country completely changed.
Do you love your country?
Yes, I love my country.
Will the situation change?
I believe the situation will change for the better, absolutely, because we live in a country of deeply faithful people.
Know this, the situation might change so much that you won't even recognize this country anymore. It will be completely different from what it was before.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
That's not what I meant.
But that's what I meant.
I have 2 daughters. One lives in Kiev and the other moved to Russia, got married, and has 2 children there. We only talk on the phone now. I couldn't physically help them anymore, so I just prayed for them. They're successful and doing well, and I see God's work in that. My mom and I prayed for them. So this is proof that when you ask the Lord, whether you know how or not, but if you believe and put loving effort into it, it will definitely happen. Absolutely. And today my daughter called me and invited me here. So here I am at your lecture. I'm very, very grateful to her. I want to thank her, and thank you very much as well.
Thank you. I want to say something to you too. You unintentionally raised the energy of time during your speech. Let me explain how. You stirred up a very sensitive topic right now. It's about what the country was and what it should be. Because some people want it to be like it was before and are shedding blood for that. Others want it to be as it is now. Please pray for this country. Don't debate what it was or what it should be. Just pray that the discord and division calm down. This all needs to settle. The country will be beautiful when everyone calms down. It will be whatever it's meant to be. Everything changes in this world. Nothing stays the same. If you catch a glimpse of this country 50 years from now, it will be nothing like it is today. Thank God for that. Everything in this world changes. Everything and everyone changes. So accept everything that exists now in your heart. I'm very grateful for your message, for what you said. I appreciate your gratitude toward your daughter and me, and I thank you for that. Where is your daughter?
She should be on the balcony. There she is, waving her hand.
Please accept my deep respect for you, for bringing your mother here. Right now our task is one for all of us, not to debate what was or what should be. Our task is peace. The country will be what it's meant to be. What we need is peace. Try to really understand that in your heart right now, because if we focus on anything else, pain will immediately flare up in other people's hearts. Raise your hand if you felt pain flare up in your heart during this woman's talk. She doesn't even realize this could happen. Raise your hand. Look how many people raised their hands. You didn't want to talk about this. I understand you wanted to thank me. But I'm talking about this now because it's more important. The most important thing right now is to understand that we shouldn't judge anything. Stage 1 is fear, stage 2 is judgment, stage 3 is anger, and stage 4 is war. This country has already reached stage 4. There's nowhere further to go. We cannot let this situation continue. Every person must pray for peace on this land. Then, when peace comes, the politicians can figure out how to make things right. When there's no peace, no one can do anything. No one can sort anything out. When there's no peace, all control over the country falls apart. Neither good nor bad leaders can do anything because everyone's just being killed all around. There's no stability, no ability to change anything. The only thing we need now is to forget our own opinions. How it was before, how it is now, that's none of our business. Our business is to love this country as it is now, with the leaders it has, with all the people it has. Because it's just like a family. If I'm fed up with these leaders, then I've earned it by my own fate. We need to accept everything as it is now and pray for peace. When people pray for peace, they enter a state of harmony, unity, and strength. And then victory comes to this country. Everything becomes strong and bright. The country becomes strong. Right now it's very weakened by the influence of time. It needs to become strong again. For that to happen, we must pray to holy people for peace. And then everything will fall into place here, just as it should. Everything will be resolved. Those who govern the country will figure out how to steer it in the right direction. Wherever it goes, that's where it's meant to go. That's God's decision. It's not our business. Thank you all very much. I wish you happiness, love, health, peace on your land, and all the brightest things in your life. I'm grateful you were here with me.